Okay, so we're looking at a very simple demo file here. It's got three tables and three table occurrences, one for sales, one for contacts, one for countries. They're all related in the sort of way that one might expect. Very natural relationship. The tables themselves are very simple, data fields only, no calculations. You can see just a few standard fields for contacts and countries. There is one schema concession that I had to make to have this demo work, and that is to add a global text field to the sales table occurrence, or to the sales table. Okay, so that's the schema, and there are no scripts. So again, emphasizing no scripting already here, and no calculation fields. And the objective is to get a representation of the found set data into a global field as JSON. And I'll mention that this is like a gimmick technique. It's not something I would expect most people, if anybody, would want to use in a real production solution. But it is kind of novel, definitely fun, and I've been playing around with it for a couple of days and decided it would be fun to share it with others in case people haven't thought of this or seen it. You can just have it as something to play with. All right, so let's see. This sample layout is based off of the sales context. Shows the sales data, related country data, related contact data, and courtesy of version 17, our nice found set portal here that allows us to browse these records pretty easily. On our right, we have our global field and buttons that should be pretty obvious. Clear it, copy it to the clipboard, and then this found set JSON button that we're going to implement right now. So we'll do that by adding a single step. The step will be replace field contents. And we're going to replace the contents of that global field. And we're going to do so with a calculation. And the calculation will use these two custom functions that I pasted into the solution. One is called JSON from found set. The other is called row JSON. We're going to leave the rest of these arguments at default for now. Save it, and let's see if it works. So we've got 1,200 records here. I would say that's about the maximum that I would want to use this for. Anything larger than that, chances are it'll be too slow. Which isn't to say that it's a slow way of doing this. There are many different ways you can scrape the data out of the found set, and this is easily not the slowest. It's not the most performant. Most performant would be, of course, to have pre-calced JSON fields in the schema, but part of the point of this was to not have any additional schema fields if we could help it. So different approach, and let's see how it works out. Okay, so we've got our found set JSON here. Let's take a look at it in the text editor in case that's a little easier to see. That's all 1,200 records there. You can see we're looking just at the data from the sales table occurrence, or the sales context. Let's see where that data comes from. That is where the structure and how we define it. It happens to be in one of these two custom functions. You saw them before. JSON from found set, that just remains the same. Row JSON, that's the custom function where I'm defining what we're going to return. Now, right off the bat, this is a very unconventional thing to do, I realize, to be having field references within a custom function. I'm sure a lot of people's stomachs would turn at seeing that. But again, this is about a different way of looking at things, and definitely sort of stepping out of how we usually do things to see what's possible when we consider other things. So I'm using this custom function to define the structure of what we want returned in our found set JSON. And if you ignore what's been commented out here, you can see that what remains is JSON definitions for what we got. Basically some shipping information and the ID, and some metrics information. And let's go ahead, I said shipping information, I meant date information. Let's go ahead and put that stuff into different JSON paths to illustrate how that's going to affect the output. I'll call that metrics. All right, we'll leave ID how it is, and let's see what that does for us. All right, so this time we get JSON that reflects the structure that we just put in configured in that custom function. Let's do another tweak to it. Okay, this time let's go ahead and add all the blocks, and that means we're going to have our date block from the sales, metrics block from the sales, data from the country related table occurrence, and data from the related contact table occurrence. And so I'm emphasizing the fact that that's related data because that's something that's not easy to do in every single technique that's available to scrape data from the found set. In particular, if you're doing a scripted loop using getNth record, it gets a lot more difficult to get that related data, if it's even possible. I'm not sure if it is. Let's say if you were doing a scripted loop running through the records using goToRecord, it wouldn't be a problem. It gets tougher with getNth record. But that's a digression. Let's take a look here. I just wanted to point out that we're grabbing related data as well as data from the main context. So let's run that. Takes a little longer. And there we have it. Let's take a look at it in the text editor again. So are we still doing 1200 records? We are. 1200 records, data from related tables, and in the structure that we choose. And that's pretty much what it is. It's from the found set. So let's say we just had 5 records. Let's set that up for a minute. Or 6 records. If we run that, faster of course, but I just wanted to sort of give an illustration of how it's based off of the found set of records. Maybe a couple other things to illustrate here. If we go back to the button that we defined here, we can use a variation or two. Let's see, the variation I'd like to show is if we specify a key field here, which will be ID, and save that and run it, and take a look at what happened to the structure when we did that. We identified what the key field is, and instead of getting an array, which is what we had all of the other times we've done this, an array of objects, this time we've got a dictionary of objects or a JSON object of objects using that primary key ID as a key. So now we can basically access any record that we want by key rather than by an array index, which is pretty cool. I think that's it. Let's see, one other thing we might want to take a look at is what happens if we lock a record. Will we still be able to run a replace and have this work? So let's go ahead and start editing a record in a different window. And that should lock this record up. Okay, it is indeed locked. And let's see if we can still run that. We can. All right, I think that's about all there is to say about this. Again, I think it's kind of a gimmick technique that I don't think is really going to become anything that would catch on with folks, because you can of course do this in a scripted loop. I just thought it was neat to show that you could do it without having any calculation or any stored JSON fields or any scripts really, other than that one single script step that uses the replace. And again, the one concession that we did have to make was adding this global field to the main context that we're operating off of. Okay, thanks for taking a look.